Look, today we're tackling a massive architectural boundary in the Zero Trust space. We're talking about securing Layer 2 down in operational technology and IoT environments, specifically right underneath your existing Cloudflare infrastructure. If you're managing a factory floor, a hospital, a logistics hub, the rules completely change at the physical network level. So we're going to map out exactly how to bridge that gap with a factual technical briefing.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start at the baseline with Cloudflare 1, define the Layer 2 boundary, look at why traditional NAC is kind of a false fix here, unpack the Genian NAC architecture, walk through 4 deployment scenarios, and finish up with differentiated next steps. Let's get right into it.
The baseline, Cloudflare 1.
Now, we absolutely have to establish what Cloudflare does perfectly. And I mean perfectly. Cloudflare 1 has literally transformed Zero Trust. Layer 3 and up, it's phenomenal. Zero Trust network access, secure web gateways, DDoS, DNS filtering. It handles identity and managed endpoint posture without breaking a sweat. But what happens when we shift over to the operational network? The questions fundamentally change. We aren't asking who is this user logging in with SAML anymore. We're dealing with PLCs, IP cameras, and unmanaged legacy machines. Asking what is this device or where did it physically connect requires switch port visibility. And by design, Cloudflare just doesn't operate down there.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Layer 2 boundary.
Here's the crux of the issue. Factory equipment, barcode scanners, these unmanaged endpoints, they are connecting to your network way before Cloudflare ever applies. I mean, they can't run an endpoint agent, they don't authenticate. You might have a brilliant Cloudflare tunnel securing the path to an application, but what about identifying a rogue PLC that just got plugged in? How do you isolate it? That is an entirely different ballgame. The tunnel creates the path, sure, but network access control judges the actual physical connection. This isn't a configuration problem in your dashboard, it's a layer problem.
Section 3, the traditional NAC false fix.
So naturally, you might wonder, why not just throw a legacy NAC solution at this, right? Cisco ISE, Aruba ClearPass, FortiNAC, Forescout. They've been around forever. But here is the architectural reality. Their traditional model is 802.1x first. That demands agents or supplicants. And OT or IoT devices? They just don't have them. So what happens? Network engineers end up creating these cascading exceptions just to keep the factory running, usually falling back on MAC authentication bypass. And let's be honest, MAC spoofing is trivially easy for an attacker. Compare that to Genian NAC. It uses a sensor-based Layer 2 approach, completely agentless. The philosophy is see first, classify next, apply policy after.
Section 4, Genian NAC architecture.
Let's look at how this actually works without blowing up your network. Genian leverages what they call device platform intelligence. Think of this as a highly specialized, non-intrusive Layer 2 network sensor. It doesn't just see a random IP and MAC address, it categorizes the specific platform. It pulls in manufacturer context. It actually tells you if the device is end of life, end of support, or has exposed CVEs. It answers the fundamental question of what exactly is this thing and should it even be allowed on this switchboard?
Making the business and operational case here is surprisingly straightforward. Operationally, you do not need to redesign your network. No ripping out switches, absolutely zero disruption to your existing Cloudflare setup. You can use phased enforcement, which is absolutely critical for keeping production lines running. And on the investment side, both Genians and Cloudflare use open APIs, so no proprietary connector lock-in, no extra connector licensing to make them talk. Plus, getting all this visibility gives you direct, out-of-the-box compliance evidence for heavy-hitter frameworks like NIS2 and IEC 62443.
Section 5, 4 deployment scenarios. Let's make this concrete and walk through exactly how this integration plays out step by step. Scenario 1, remote vendor access and manufacturing. Now, Cloudflare is already fantastic at securing the remote session when a vendor logs into a jump server. But what if that vendor shows up on site and plugs their laptop right into the factory switch? Well, Genian controls that physical connection. It spots the device that Layer 2, isolates it if it's unapproved, and then Cloudflare Access seamlessly continues to apply its private resource policy to the approved devices. Zero gap between remote access and physical access.
Okay, Scenario 2 extends device posture. Cloudflare already does a great job checking endpoint health, like OS version or if the client is running. Genian takes its Layer 2 network context and feeds it directly into Cloudflare's custom posture integration via Open API. Genian knows exactly if a device is IT or OT, what specific switch port it's on, and its vulnerability context. It passes that structured score via API, and Cloudflare uses it to make Layer 7 access decisions. The platforms fuse perfectly without custom vendor connectors.
Scenario 3. Branch offices. We all know branches are basically magnets for shadow IT. Someone brings in a personal router for better Wi-Fi, or there's a rogue point-of-sale terminal. Genian discovers these unmanaged devices that Cloudflare just can't see because, again, they never authenticate. It finds them, isolates them from the production environment, and applies strict exception governance. So every single device has a known owner and a hard expiration date.
For Scenario 4, let's talk about OT and IoT environments. In a factory, immediate enforcement is a huge risk. You literally cannot risk shutting down an assembly line. So, Genian uses a phased rollout to protect production continuity. You start with sensor-based discovery and classification, mapping out all your IT, OT, and IoT segmentation. Then you review the policy impact in simulation mode. Enforcement only happens when you are 100% confident. Inventory first, enforcement second.
Section 6. Differentiated next steps.
So how do you actually take action on this? The paths forward are super clear depending on who you are. If you're a Cloudflare customer and you need to see what's lurking beneath your Zero Trust architecture, start a 30-day free Genian NAC trial in monitoring mode. It requires absolutely zero infrastructure changes. None. And if you're a Cloudflare partner or reseller, this is a massive opportunity to monetize the OT gap. Look into the Genians Partner Program. It's built specifically for folks already leading with Cloudflare, offering joint go-to-market strategies and zero portfolio conflict.
I'm going to leave you with one final architectural question to chew on. Your app access is controlled beautifully by Cloudflare, but who controls what physically connects to the network itself? Seriously, take a hard look at the unmanaged devices sitting at Layer 2 right now, and consider how a sensor-based approach completes that Zero Trust picture.